It's the fault of Duluth. I'm sorry.
Talking. Oh man, I didn't warm up.
Ooh.
I took a nap and I sound like crap.
Creighton.
Ooh, yikes!
And maybe you
I
should
sound
have
like
been
Kip
a
Winger. I sound like
maybe you
Kip
should-
Winger.
maybe you should have been a white guy that rapped because you were just rhyming. I took a nap and I sound like crap, and maybe I should be a white guy that rapped. Anyway, never mind. What's going on, bro?
No, that was bad. Oh, I just woke up and man, I sing like crap.
Ha ha! Dad says, "What are the topics tonight?" And spell
I don't
tonight.
know.
T
The
O
beginning of the season,
N I T.
dude. Beginning of the season.
Beginning of the season, the weirdest season. A Friday night Packer fan, 1993 is here. We're all together again. How are y'all? We're good, Packer fan.
We're ready to go,
1993. How you
man.
doing? Yeah, it's ready to rock and roll. Ready to
Football
tell you
starts
the-
tomorrow.
man. Football starts tomorrow. The Packers start on a Friday. It's a weird start, but I'll take it.
It is weird.
Are the Packers ready to go? What do you think?
I don't know.
Because we didn't see hardly any of the real Packers are the ones that are going to play. So we don't know either. But I'll tell you, there's one person who's ready to go. I'll tell you that. We'll talk about him in a little bit. The Packers better be ready to go, right? They get paid lots of money. This is their job. So many guys' jobs. So they should be ready to go and ready to entertain us, right? That's the gig. Or they could just win football games. I mean, I don't necessarily need to be entertained as long as they win. I don't need that entertainment stuff. I'll be entertained if they win. I'll be happy. How about you? You need entertainment and victories, or just victories are okay?
Just victories for now. My entertainment is going to be from Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever.
Snap.
Those guys are killing it.
Yeah. Lighten them up.
They won again.
Won again
They
today?
won again tonight.
God dang, yo. A
Another
W League.
double for Caitlin Clark. 24 points, 10 boards, 10 assists.
And the crazy part.
You got daughters walking behind you with dogs.
Yeah, she's doing something with the dog. The crazy part there too is that she plays so many minutes. She's like hardly ever out of the game. And she's always running. Like they always push the tempo, so she's always running. I know that means like a little bit on defense. She kind of slacks off once in a while, but that's okay. You gotta take a rest sometime. Even if you're 20-something years old.
All the players on the team are doing good now.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the year, it was like she'd make a crazy pass and they'd be like, "Ugh," and fumble it like ding dongs because they weren't ready for it. It was like Robert Pack with all his teammates he ever had.
Yeah.
And now they've all figured out how to play together and they're whipping everybody's butts. So that's cool. But as far as the Packers go, dude,
it could be dangerous come the playoffs. That could be fun to watch. I'm dialed in. You turn me on to the W, I'm dialed in.
Yeah, it's awesome. Have you heard the news?
No. Did you see the Jordan Love interview yet? The NBC one?
I did. It was mostly about him and his wife or fiance or whatever, which is
whatever. Or not
that's
football.
Mostly what it's about.
Okay.
There wasn't much football going on, and that whole conversation was not football. If you're talking about the one on NBC.
Yeah, the NBC one, like
Well, here's
the big thing.
Apparently, his fiance is friends with that reporter, so like that's pretty much all they talked about the whole time.
Legit.
And then she showed up halfway through, and then just made fun of Jordan Love all the time, made him look like a chump. But whatever, we're not talking about that. At least he's got somebody that he actually wants to marry him, unlike the quarterback we had before him, who nobody wanted to marry him.
You know, ironically, just a quick side note before we get to your big news that you talked about is that Lineker and Sophia just watched they're watching the series of movies Divergent and Allegiant and something else. The Shailene Woodley's and all those, and so I was telling them, I said that's the one of the girls who was paid by Aaron Rodgers to pretend to be his girlfriend.
Okay. Hold that. Allegedly. We can't be just start saying that. You have to say allegedly first, or you can get sued. Just ask Pat McAfee. Brett Favre was trying to sue him one time because he didn't say allegedly first.
Brett Favre.
Anyways, you got to say allegedly first.
All right. Okay. Anyways, Shailene Woodley in those movies, but that was pre her relationship. Her relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Okay, continue on.
Well, I just watched X-Men Apocalypse with Olivia Munn too. So
there you go. Yeah. We're hitting all of them. Now I just got to watch an old. I got to start watching NASCAR. We'll be good. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What's the news?
The big news is this: Chris Sims. Did you hear who Chris Sims picked?
I did not. What did he say?
Go to the Super Bowl.
Come on. Who did he pick?
Cincinnati Bengals or Bengals.
Huh.
They're like Ben.
Mm-hmm,
He picked in the NFC Championship game. He picked the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed, to lose to the number 5 seed Green Bay Packers.
Oh, I like it.
But then he picked the Bengals to beat the crap out of the Packers in the Super Bowl.
What? Nah.
Which I kind of agree with too, but that's just me. If that was if they made it to the Super Bowl, they ain't gonna win because they got to play either the Chiefs or the Bengals or the friggin' Ravens or the somebody really good.
You think all these young dudes are gonna be? It's gonna be too much for them. They won't be able to handle it. They'll probably not have as much pressure on them, so they'll probably play great. They won't give in to the pressure like other people. Succumb to it. They'll be so young. They'll just be like, let's just play football, man.
I don't know for sure. What I do know is this: they are young, yes,
yeah.
But last year they were playing with no expectations,
right?
And their season was in the tubes. Goody gave up on them, traded away their best player, and they were like, they had nothing to lose anymore, right? So they just went out and freaking played hard, and
Goody publicly threatened his quarterback that he handpicked, like with 10 games left, right?
Yeah.
Came out and made that public statement. This is a really important 10 games.
They showed at that point when they had nothing to lose, they could win. But it was also, high pressure situation for a lot of those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And then of course we had the return of Aaron Jones, who showed up near the end of the year and dominated. And
we're not getting that this year.
Looked amazing for those last 5 games he played for the Pack, where he was just unstoppable and really solidified the team.
Yeah,
and.
You thought they would have valued that more. Oh, well. Anyway.
Well, we can get into that. Do you have the, you have some Matt LaFleur sound bites today?
I'm not doing any Matt. I can't listen to Matt LaFleur. I just got a Hafley.
Okay, well, I'll just talk about that real quick then.
Yeah.
I listened to something today that was very interesting.
Okay.
There's something called the O-Line Committee. I've talked about it on the show before. I think I told Mo about it. It has 2 former Viking offensive linemen and a Viking beat reporter guy. And they do this thing called the O-Line Committee, and it's pretty funny because they're 2, former offensive lineman guys. So you love it because you used to play offensive line before you play tight, or you play tight end, then you play offensive line, and then you play tight end. But they're funny
on the team, pretty much.
Right? These guys. I don't know. One of them's kind of smart. The other one's definitely not smart. But because one of them was he's like 6'8". That Boone. He was a 49er for a while. Then he was a Viking for a while.
Well, center's got to be the smartest.
Yeah, neither of these guys were centers. Okay. And then the other guy was Jeremiah Sarles, who was like a backup. He was mostly a 6th man coming off the bench, when somebody got hurt for his whole career, because he was like undrafted or drafted really late. Anyways, but those 2 guys have their thing, and they talked about Mike Zimmer apparently did a interview with something, and he just threw a whole bunch of Viking former players and the Viking Paul Allen, the voice of the Vikings. The Viking GM at the time, Rick Spielman, threw him under the bus. They were just throwing everybody under the bus. He took no blame for anything that went wrong with the Vikings. None. 0 blame. But the thing I got out of it was they talked about how they knew that Zimmer and Spielman didn't talk for like a year and a half. And they could tell just from walking through the building and stuff. They're like, yeah, like, when these guys hate each other, And it was weird. And like, they didn't talk. And so there was no conversations about what type of players Zimmer wanted near the end. There was no, the coaches didn't get involved with the drafting of the players and what make the decisions that were being made. And what we've seen this year for the first time is Goody saying, Rich Bisaccia, I think a lot of the guys you told me to get suck. Except for Keyshawn Nixon. But he kind of is okay. We're going to get rid of him. We're getting rid of the kicker you told me to draft last year. We're getting rid of this guy. We got rid of Dallin Levitt last year. I picked up Zane Anderson. You didn't. And then blah, blah, blah. He decided not to sign back Aaron Jones and pick up Josh Jacobs. He decided to cut 4 guys who got picked up by other teams right away. And Matt LaFleur, when asked about such things as getting a brand new kicker into the building, he was all whiny about it. Like, yeah, well, what do you think I'm going to do? It's pretty tough. And getting all crabby with the reporters, trying to be like, giving them crap. When they're not the ones who freaking cut all your kickers and picked up some guy off the street 2 days before the season. Goody did that. They're not the guys who freaking told you were going to have Aaron Jones, told the reporters, yeah, I see Aaron Jones on this team, and then cut him and then spend more money to get Josh Jacobs, who's not even as good as Aaron Jones. He's not the guy who traded away your best player right before the trade deadline last year.
Kelly Packer, what's up?
And I think LaFleur is starting to get pissy with the reporters because I think he's actually pissy at Goody. Because it's a weird dynamic now. Because if Goody was his boss, he couldn't be all whiny and pissy like he is.
Right.
But Goody's not his boss. They're on equal level. Underneath the turnip farmer, Mark Murphy, right? And because of that, these 2 guys, if something goes wrong, what do you think Bruin Gutekunst is telling Mark Murphy? Well, the coach can't coach. Right? But Matt LaFleur's like, wait a minute. He gave me a kicker 2 weeks before a week before the season started. I had never seen the guy. And you wonder why we're going to, I'm supposed to trust this guy? What am I supposed to do in the middle of a game? When it comes down to 4th down and 4th and 1 for a 45-yard field goal, and there's still 4 minutes left, and we're down by 4, or we're down by 2, or whatever. I don't know, whatever it would be. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make that decision? I still have my 3 timeouts. Am I supposed to kick that field goal? I don't trust this guy. I don't know. But I go for it on 4th down, and of course I call a stupid run play like I always do, and we don't get any yards because we don't, instead of attacking one spot in the defense, we call some dumb thing. Anyways,
we got to flow.
I'm just saying, that's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing Matt LaFleur is getting all pissy with the reporters because I think there's starting to be a rift between him and the Gutekunster, and now I don't know, man. This is a tottering slope of craziness, right? And I don't know.
So
what's going to happen?
If there's an issue there, who loses out?
I don't know.
Is it the guy who's been with the organization for like almost 30 years or the head coach?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Murphy is only got a year left. He ain't going to do jack squat.
Yeah, he's not going to do nothing about it.
He ain't going to fire either of them. So the rift's just going to be there.
Policy, right?
Right. I don't know. I'm just saying based on yeah, I'm just saying based on his reactions. Now, Goody's the same guy. He don't care. He's a jerk, right? He always has been a jerk.
Yeah.
He's a smug butt monkey who just tells you, I know more than you. Well, after a while, I'm sure LaFleur is getting sick of that crap, right? Because he already had to deal with Aaron Rodgers for the longest time, telling him he knew more than him. Now he's got to deal with stupid Goody telling him that he knows more than him. Pretty soon, Jordan Love's going to tell him he knows more than him. And then he's going to be like, what the hell's going on here? I'm the guy who held this team together.
He did.
So I think LaFleur is starting to get a little angry because of the situation around him. And he's realizing he doesn't have his control as much as he thought. And he's watching players that he knows he needs get kicked out the door or get replaced, or players get replaced with guys he's not sure what they can do. Yeah. And that's concerning him.
Sure. Football players. He wants some of those guys on his team. I mean, look how you could say a lot of things about how they pulled things together last year with all those young guys, but Matt LaFleur was in charge of that, right? And look how that team grew together, and look how those young guys came on and were believing and doing the right stuff and saying the right stuff and staying out of trouble. Like, you gotta give him plenty of credit for that. Even all the people that didn't want to give him any credit for winning games when he had Rodgers as his quarterback, like how that team came together last year, he's a big part of it. So I don't know. I'd pick LaFleur over Goody at this point, especially looking back at that 21 draft again. And then some of the cuts and decisions he's made in the last year. I think he's good at evaluating talent overall, but it seems to me that his kryptonite, his fatal flaw is that he kind of gets hung up on his own crap, wants to be right, and doesn't want to admit when he's wrong. And a lot of people are like that. It's not just him. But in this business, that can bite you in the ass pretty hard and pretty fast. I mean, you see other teams, other GMs, when they see a guy stinks that they thought was good, they're like, all right, out of here. See you later. Right? And if they see guys that are good that they didn't realize were good or didn't think it coming in, and they perform and they make plays and they add value to the team and they're good in the locker room, they're like, we're keeping these guys. I mean, I don't know. They just, the Packers do it, right? This is the trademark. Hang on to guys, overvalue their guys like crazy, hang on to guys too long that they probably shouldn't, and then pay guys big bucks that also don't really necessarily deserve it, right? Let them hit the open market.
They don't always hang on to guys too long.
Matter
of fact, they cut a guy too early. They cut a guy too early and traded a guy too early just in the last year.
Aaron Rodgers, they traded him too early?
No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, I'm sorry to start on such a weird tone. It's just I just thought that was
you think
before he's been very testy with the reporters.
He has been a little whiny.
Like he makes fun of Bill Huber, and I understand that. It's really easy to make fun of Bill Huber because he can barely get a sentence out. But he's a smart guy and he's a good guy.
He's been around forever, yeah.
And he gets annoyed with Jason Wilde's 25-minute long questions, just like Mike McCarthy did. Same thing. And I totally understand that too.
He also gets annoyed when Wilde asks him a question, Wilde doesn't get the answer he wants, so then he asks him the question again slightly differently, right? Like right after. Or he asks him a quick follow-up because he's trying to get what he wants out of him. And then LaFleur gets annoyed. Anyway, continue. I threw you off there.
No, you're right. No, I'm done. I don't need to say it. I already talked way too long at the beginning. I'm just saying, like, let's get I'm just a little concerned if it doesn't go perfect. Like, could there be a rift between those guys? I don't know. But let's get into.
We're gonna talk defense next.
The season, let's talk it.
Let's get into 1993. Hoping we have a good defense, top 5, please.
Aren't we all? I mean, when it comes to this team coming forward here, right? The thing I'm most excited for is the Jeff Hafley defense. I want to see what's going to happen. Are we going to see the same old crap we've been watching for the last freaking 10 years of guys just sitting there and watching crap happen in front of them and then looking at them and then going and tackling them after they make the catch and then giving up first downs constantly and, just watching them waste clock and get down the whole field, and then maybe we don't give up touchdown, but we give up points and we waste clock, and our offense is sitting on the sidelines for way too long? Or are we going to see a defense that takes it to them and dictates what's going on the field instead of allowing the offense to do exactly what they want? Get in there and screw them up. And that's what I want to see. So I'm hoping we get to see that.
It's so frustrating. Every Packer fan has been so frustrated watching that type of defense, just sitting back on your heels, not forcing the issue, playing it safe, playing it soft. Like, just if you're going to lose, at least go for it. At least freaking, try to make something happen. And if you get beat, you get beat. But geez, that'll a hell of a lot more. It's not nearly as painful to sit through as the drives where you just let them come down the field and do whatever they want. Now, if Jeff Hafley, who's half related to us, is any indication, I like what he said. I like what he did. But if what he says here is any indication of what we're going to see, my goodness, let's do it. I'm excited to see this Packer defense. Listen to what he said here earlier in the week or late last week, whenever it was, talking about this game against the Eagles and what he's going to do coming into it.
I mean, for me, it's like this. It's just like I talk to the players, and I mean this. We're going to work really hard up until the time we kick off, and my sheet's going to be in front of me, and I'm going to let it rip. And we're going to call it. We're going to play fast, and we're going to be physical, and I'm not going to hesitate on the call. We're going to get it in quickly to the quay so they can look out and see what the offense is coming out in, and we can go line up and play. Once that starts, maybe I'll be a little anxious before kickoff, but we're going to work to the point where we're prepared. I trust the players. I trust the staff, and I just got to go call it, and they got to go play and execute. And I cannot wait for that to happen.
I can't wait for that to happen if that's really what happens. Right? Compare that to what Joe Barry would say.
Yeah, Joe Barry, if they ask him a question about like, what what happened to your defense there? Why did they do? Why were they able to run for 7 yards per carry? And he'd be like, "Oh, if I knew that, well, then we would have ran for 7 yards per carry." And I'm like, "Okay, well, why are you the coach then if you don't know why?" Right. At least Jeff Hafley says, "I'm going to put the plan together. I'm going to make sure we are prepared, and the plan is right. And I'm going to tell the guys I'm going to call my sheet the way I call my sheet, the way I see it. I'm going to get it in there, let the guys go." And it's kind of interesting because something happened to my daughter recently. We just dropped her off at college. She had an audition for percussion on Monday. And the whole week leading up to taking her to college, I repeatedly hear her saying, "Yeah, man, I'm going to suck at my audition for percussion." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you practice? Do you have the sheet music for it? Can you practice here at home? We have bells here. We have a snare drum. We have a drum set downstairs. Like, what do you need? Can you practice here?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I'll be fine. It's not that hard," and blah, blah, blah. And I'll be fine. I mean, I'm not a music major. I don't really care. I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." She goes in Monday auditions, and her audition went like crap, she said. And she got super upset and was down on herself. And I just sent her a message. And I was like, "Listen, you can't walk into something because you've already done something previously at a different thing. And now you're stepping up to a new level, right? You were at high school. Yes, you were your best percussionist at your school. And you could probably show up and just sight read it easy because she was really good. And at this point, you're going to college. You're going to have more difficult music, more difficult parts, all that same stuff. And you can't just walk in there and expect to just do the same thing that you did in high school. And it was the same way with me when I was in music and in college and all that sort of thing. And I would spend, we would spend hours rehearsing, and I would want it to be perfect. I would spend hours on one line. When I was a director for cabaret, which was just, singing and dancing with a bunch of dudes, I would make guys sing one line 5 times in a row until they got it right. And then after they got it right, I'd make them sing it 5 more times to make sure that they got it right every time. And if they screwed up even once, I'd make them sing it 3 more times after that. Because there's nothing better than having the confidence in yourself to know that you are prepared. And what I always say is prepare for perfection, even though you're never going to reach perfection, right?
You always say that? I never heard you say that.
Well, that's what I say in my brain. I can't say it to you because I know you wouldn't be perfection. It's not you. But we'd have guys, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but Mike Ryan was a great guy. He'd show up for rehearsals. He'd sing through stuff once. They'd be like, "All right, see you guys, I got to go." Because he was a guy who had a whole lot of friends and did a whole lot of stuff and he loved being in the group, but he wasn't a music major. He wasn't as quite into it as I was, right? And he had fun and he learned his parts and he did great. He was fine. And he was fine with being okay or being good. He was better than okay. He was good. But I wanted it perfect because even though I knew I'd screw up in the concert, at least because I prepared to perfection, I was relaxed and I could do whatever I needed to do in the concerts and not worry. And that's what I think Jeff Hafley is all about. He's preparing these guys for perfection. It's not going to happen. They're going to screw stuff up. They're young. A lot of these guys are young guys or they suck. But if he can at least get the information to them as fast as he can, right? Work on it all week long, first of all, right? So that they know exactly what he's going to call. Like, I'm not going to call anything but these things. Understand what your assignment is when I call this play. That's your assignment, and you better know what your assignment is and do your assignment, right? And then the guys have to perform. And that's what I like about Jeff Hafley. He has a plan. He's going to put a plan together. He's going to call that plan. He's going to train the players to be top-notch in that plan. And that's going to be up to the players to make sure they execute that plan. Now, if his plan sucks, we're screwed. That's for sure. But I don't think it's going to suck. Because this guy seems like he's got his head on his shoulders. And the other thing I'll say real quick, it reminds me a lot of when the Packers won the Super Bowls, the last 2.
Mm-hmm.
We had offensive head coaches, but the defensive coordinator was either in the league for so long that he was almost like a head coach before, or he was a head coach before, right? Fritz Shermer was well-respected, super old dude. But he put that defense together, and we had the number 1 rated defense that year. And he knew exactly what he was doing. And he knew exactly what the players do, what they were supposed to be doing. Fast forward to how many years, 10 years, whatever it was, or 14 years. You got Mike McCarthy, offensive head coach. Dom Capers, former head coach of a team. Now the defensive coordinator who ran the whole defense. Knew exactly what needed to be done, who needed to do what. Oh, they got trained, same thing. And now here, Jeff Hafley, former head coach. Yes, it was in college, but he was still a head coach. He had to run the whole team. He's very organized. He understands how to prepare teams, understands how to get his information across the guys. And it's the same thing. And now let's hope we can get, just like our guy, Packer fan in 1993 is talking, top 5 defense. If we can get a top 5 defense, we can get to the Super Bowl like Chris Sims says. It's a lot to ask, but I think people forget. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers get so much credit all the time because they have so many numbers, right? Touchdowns and yards and all this stuff. And they were great players. They were. But for us to win a damn Super Bowl, we had to have a top 1 or 2 defense. Both times, the last 2 times we did it. Yeah, we had a great quarterback, but we need the defense to be on top of stuff. And I think Jeff Hafley can do that, and I'm super excited for him. And it's excited to see what's going to happen with this team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've all been waiting. I mean, I like seeing how the young guys played. We got to see some of them in the preseason. Hopefully they mix in well. And, some of the spots are going to be in there, so that's nice. But, yeah, when you see all the veteran guys in there, too, going to get to play, you see what the rotations are like, right? Wasn't that was one of the keys for always for strong defensive lines, but anytime, right? If you can keep guys fresh because you feel comfortable playing enough guys, relatively a higher number of snaps, I mean, man, they can be so much more effective than if they're in there for 70 snaps, 60, 70 snaps or whatever. So I'm looking forward to that. And to be honest, not just Devontae Wyatt, right, but other guys are going to need to be subbed out if they're basically telling them to penetrate and push up field and do all this stuff every single play. There's not going to be time to kind of hold up a guy and just kind of take a play off or whatever. And hopefully those guys embrace it, because if they do that, then you're talking about disruption up front, which can help cover up the weakest part of the defense. So that'd be good. I need you to take it for a second because I got to get my dog closer to me so he stops getting upset and whining.
That's fine. But here's the other thing I was going to say. Kind of you helped bring something up into what I was thinking about was the crap. I just had a brain fart now. What was I thinking? Say it again. What'd you say?
No time for brain farts, you old fart.
No, what did you say 2 seconds ago?
I don't know. I don't listen to myself.
Why'd you have to talk so long about your dog and made me forget? You ding dong.
I didn't even talk that long about him. I just said, no,
I'm old.
Rotations, defensive line.
That's rotating. It. Thanks. Gotcha. Okay, we're good. Yeah. Hopefully, here's the thing. With an attacking defense, right, where you're attacking the opponent, you're dictating what's going to happen. You're, instead of sitting back and being passive and letting things happen in front of you and then tackling, right, which allows the team to build a drive, right, to take time off the clock, to wear down your defense because you're on the field so long. And that's what makes you forced to substitute. But if you're playing a defense that's attacking and hitting and going for it, you might get some more 3 and outs. You might get some more 4 or 5 and outs. Maybe you give up 1 first down, but then you stop them the next time because you're attacking and messing stuff up. And your guys don't even get tired. And your studs are on the field even more because they're playing less downs because they're dominating and dictating to the offense. What we've been watching the Packers do for the last, I don't know how many years, is sit back on the field, all these freaking plays, giving stuff up, giving up long drives, waiting for the opponent to screw up, which is great when you play a bad team, but it's not great when you're in the playoffs or you play a good team. You must dictate. And when you dictate, these guys will not be on the field as much because they're either going to screw up and give up a big play or they're going to dominate and go 3 and out. So we might actually see more of the stars and less of the backups with this type of defense. I don't know. I mean, because when I think of a lot of the great defenses, you think about how many times is TJ Watt off the field? Not very much, right?
Yeah, not too much, yeah.
But the Steelers are crazy and they just do stuff and they're nuts and like they're 3 and out, you're done, right? Like they're dominating. They don't need a rest because they're not out there very long. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Look at the 49ers. They don't really rotate guys in that much. Nick Bosa's out there every play. because they dominate and get the crap off the field. Fred Warner don't come off the field. None of those guys come off the field. None of the defensive line guys come off the field because they don't need to.
Yeah, I'd prefer it. I mean, I
got to be honest. I mean, I'd like to have Kenny Clark off the field. That's just me.
I mean, we've been saying for years, though, how I would much rather be pressing and going for it, and maybe you give up a big play here and there, but you make plays, you get quick stops like you're talking about, because you make big negative plays that are throwing off the drive for the offense, and you get off the field more often. So much better. I would take that over these sitting back 14, 10, 12 play drives against you. And then maybe you tighten up in the red zone and then they kick a field goal. But they still wasted all this time. You were still getting on the field, getting tired. Then you get worn down. Then your run defense sucks later because you're worn down. All that stuff compiles when you look at it. So, yeah, getting off the field quicker, number one. And a key to that is being more aggressive. Another key to that is third down calls. And it sounds like Jeff Hafley knows what he wants to call. That was one of my favorite things he said. It's like, we're going to get it set up, and then we're going to do it. We're going to let it rip. I'm going to call it. We're going to go with it. Guys are going to play fast. That's it. That's all we can ask for.
That's all you need. And that's it. That's what I'm most excited about for this team.
Let's take a look at what we got here. Just pulling up the Packers depth chart. Because I mean, look at what we got. So you got Preston Smith, Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton, Rashawn Gary across the front, right? Those guys should be able to do some stuff. Carl Brooks is going to get in there. Wyatt's going to get in there. Kingsley and Igbar is going to get in there. Lucas Van Ness has to get in there because he's, number 13 overall pick.
Yeah, he better get in there once in a while.
And then, inside backers, McDuffie, we know he's a good football player. And Quay Walker, we know he's a good athlete who has over 115 tackles in each of his first two seasons. So you got all that. And then Eric Wilson is just a physical dude who runs around. And that, you don't even have the high draft choice rookie guys, Hopper and Cooper, Copper and Hooper. They're not in there. They're behind those guys. Will they see the field much? We don't know. But those guys could also strengthen the inside linebacker if you have injuries or stuff like that. And then what was always the weak part about, the Packers defense? Oh my God, the safety has been so bad for so long. Well, you spent all this money on McKinney. He should be a big upgrade. At least he knows what he's doing. Seems like he's a good guy. And hopefully he's versatile enough. And then Bullard's shown out well. And Evan Williams has shown out well. So when I look at this, the two weakest spots are those two CBs right there. And that's probably surprising to most Packer fans who aren't paying attention too much or don't dig into it like we do. But if you look at this defense and you look at the stuff Jeff Hafley's talking about and the way he wants to play, those two guys are the least of a fit. Because in general, they don't play aggressive and they don't play physical and they don't play fast. Yet they're both, number one picks and all that good stuff. And Jair makes $1 million $84 million, whatever. So I don't think anyone coming into this season would have expected that to be the case. But when I look at this defense, those are the two guys I worry about the most.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting because of this particular matchup with the Eagles. I listened to Locked On Eagles the other day at work just because I wanted to hear kind of what was going on with them and what they say. And they're super excited about this season and all the moves they've made. Like they've made a ton of moves, like brought in guys in free agency and trades and all kinds of stuff. Like, especially on the offensive side. So you're talking with Saquon Barkley, traded for Jahan Dotson. You've already got those two receivers that they have already to begin with, who are both pretty good. And then you got Dallas Goedert, who's awesome at tight end, who's killed us many times when we played them because we don't have a linebacker who knows how to cover him. Hopefully Isaiah McDuffie or somebody will figure it out this game. And then, of course, you got Jalen Hurts who can run around, and he scored like 15 touchdowns last year. I didn't know that. Now, a lot of them could have been the 1 yard tush push touchdowns. I don't know. And then, of course, their offensive line is insane, right? Even with Kelsey retiring, they still have the two of the best tackles in the league, and Landon Dickerson and a couple other guys. I mean, they're just nuts. And apparently they have Mekhi Becton playing guard, who was a tackle that the Jets drafted, who never kind of he kind of fizzled out. And he's a 6'8" guy, 340 pounds playing guard. I mean, they're gonna cream the crap out of him. We're gonna need TJ Slayton out there every play to fight with him. Now, his pass blocking isn't that great, so maybe we can do some things there and get some, maybe Devontae Wyatt can get past him for some quick moves and stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does in this game. Does he use, I don't know if Edgerrin Cooper's back, but does he use Tyrod Hopper as a spy for Hurts on third downs or whatever, so that he can still have Quay Walker out there and have him bleeding coverage? Or does he use Quay Walker as a spy and use McDuffie as a guy who's going to be smart and hang around? I don't know. But you can't give up easy access for the quarterback. And these guys are going to have their pass rushes disciplined. They can't just go crazy and, go deep, go out and around and end up giving up a huge lane for the quarterback to run through, because he'll take it. This isn't Kirk Cousins or somebody who can't move. This is a guy who's freaking faster than lightning. And then you got to worry about Saquon Barkley, who's one of the best running backs in the NFL if he's not injured, of course. So it's scary. This is probably one of the scariest assignments. The only good thing is what the Eagles fans were talking about is that some of these guys are new, and they don't exactly know what they're going to get out of Saquon Barkley. Like, they know he's good, but what's he going to look like as an Eagle? What's Mekhi Becton going to do when he switches now to guard? Is Jahan Dotson going to fit in with everybody else? He's a good player, but is he going to kind of be just there, or is he going to be part of the team and really contribute? And who knows?
Well, I think he's a weapon, right? Like, he's a weapon where if teams try to double Brown or, whatever.
Right. But he was traded for, excuse me, he was traded for right before like cutdown day, or even actually after the cutdown day. It was like recently what he was traded for. So he might not know the offense, right? He might only know a couple plays. So maybe the Packers are getting lucky here and they're getting a team that's not quite ready to go. Plus, I've heard a lot of things. They were talking up Kellen Mond as the offensive coordinator. And all I know is San Diego looked like garbage last year.
Yeah, they did.
Now, they had one of the worst offensive lines, and this is one of the best offensive lines, so maybe that'll help Kellen Mond look good at his play calling and stuff. But, I mean, and that's the only thing I would say is they were really high on Kellen Mond. So, I don't know if I'd be that high on him. I think I'd trust Jeff Hafley over Kellen Mond, but
hey, we'll take it. Well, anyway, you see what's here on the depth chart. You see what's on the team and all that good stuff. So we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, defense is what I'm looking forward to the most too. Offense, the run game I don't expect to be as productive or good, but I do expect the passing game to be pretty good. And I am looking for big games out of Tucker Kraft and probably Romeo, because Jordan loves Romeo, man. Loves him.
Hey, I'm an idiot. Kellen Mond is a quarterback for the Vikings, or he was.
Oh yeah, see, I thought he was.
Who's this guy? No, who's this guy? Kellen. He was with the Cowboys. What's his freaking
Moore?
Kellen Moore. Oh my God, I said Kellen Mond 17 times like an idiot. I apologize to everybody listening. I'm a moron. I apologize to Kellen Mond.
I thought that was that guy you used to play Dungeons and Dragons with.
No, it's not. And I still play Dungeons and Dragons with him. So, matter of fact, I'm playing next Sunday.
What?
So there you go.
You can't play on a Sunday. You got to watch football, you nerd.
I know. Well, that's what they want. And that's the funniest thing is those guys all are in a fantasy football league that I'm not in, by the way. Which
you tell those nerds, I got to watch football.
They're playing on a Sunday.
Man, come on, man.
I'll be watching it on my phone.
All right, before we go to this last bit, well, there's probably a couple other bits, but before we go move anywhere else, I just gotta say, I know we took a big break. I know we used to do shows. I know we had like faithful people who were here all the time. And I do got to say, I'm a little sad that we're missing David here the last couple of shows we've been back. David was always there. David, wherever you are, hopefully you're doing okay. And hopefully you come back and hang with us here as we talk about this Packers season coming up. Because David is one of our guys. So, miss David. Okay, yep. I got something interesting for y'all to just kind of consider, and I'm gonna let the numbers and the truth speak for itself. I don't need to do a lot of injecture here or conjecture or what is it? Well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to do any of those gestures. But let's take a look at a couple of things, okay? We're just for some. This is some perspective. This is when for all the people that are coming at me, want to come at me about saying that Eric Stokes and Jair Alexander are highly overrated, not very good actually, and that they're my two scariest guys in this defense. When I look at it, like I'm mostly concerned about them. Let's just look at a couple of things. We're gonna look at we're gonna do some comparables. Remember, who's it? McCarthy used to say comparables. Somebody else say comparables. I can't remember. Do you? All right. Should we go like high first and then come down to a level, or should we start with the standard and then compare the standard to like these other guys? Let's start with the standard.
I have no idea what you're doing, so you do whatever you want.
All right, it's time to do time to take a look at our good friend Jair Alexander and what he's done for the Green Bay Packers. Okay,
you just won't give it up.
Dude, I've never done this kind of comparison. We had.
Yeah, you did. We compared him to Rasul Douglas many a time.
Rasul Douglas
many a time,
especially the narrative after Jair's season was so great. Douglas had a down season, and basically they had
the same
season. So just weird. So again, whatever you take it for what you will. I'm not gonna worry about that part. Anyway, in 6 seasons with the Packers, right? He had has 2 All-Pro seasons and 2 Pro Bowls, which
second team All-Pro.
Right. But 2 second team All-Pros and 2 Pro Bowls. Now, those 2 seasons, what are the highlights? One of them, he had 13 passes defended. The other one, he had 14 passes defended, which are fine, whatever. Not great though, not like All-Pro numbers, but what have you. And then last season, okay, again, he had his 5 interceptions. Thanks to Josh Allen being a dum-dum and some other guys just throwing the ball to him and all that.
Yep.
He didn't like make great plays to make most of his picks. And he only has, prior to that, he has 5 interceptions in his other 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. 4 seasons with the Packers. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. No. 23, he only had 7 games. That's right. No. This was 2 years ago that he had 5 interceptions. 2 years ago. That was 2022. That wasn't even last year. I'm sorry. I'm getting it screwed up in my mind. So he actually had 0 interceptions last year, and he had 5 interceptions in his first 4 years, and 5 interceptions in 22, 0 last season. Okay, so that's what he's done. So in a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons where he was a first-round pick, got to start right away, and made a crap ton of money and signed a big fat contract, is a total of 63 passes defended in 6 seasons. So that's roughly 10 a season, right? Is that right?
Sure.
I'm not great at math, but you know what I'm saying. And he has like 1 point something interceptions a season, basically. Okay, let's stop that one. Let's compare him to a Hafman favorite, who is also a Packer favorite, one of the best Packer corners in the history of the Green Bay Packers. And that's our guy, Tramon Williams. All right. So we can take a look. We've looked at Tramon's stats before. We never compared him to Jair's stats, so we'll just take a look at this puppy right away. All right, Tramon Williams, he had again, he played his first 8 seasons with the Packers, I want to say. First 8 seasons with the Packers, and then the Packers were like, after the one dumb play, best throw of Russell Wilson's career, yada, yada, yada. 2014 loss in that ridiculous game. They cut ties with them and let him go. All right. Dumb move, because we still don't have good cornerbacks. Could have kept him on the team all his whole career. That would have been great, but whatever. So if you look at his career with the Packers, 10 seasons, I know, total. But even if you look at those first 8 seasons, because in the other 2, he only had a total of 10 passes defense. So let's take that off. So it's going to be 115 passes defended in 8 seasons with the Packers. All right, Jair had 63 in just 2 less seasons. No way he's getting 50 passes defended in the next 2 years. Just throwing that out there. Tremont had seasons of 14 passes defended, 15 passes defended, 20 passes defended, 22 passes defended, 16 passes defended, 11, 13, and then the Packers are like, nah, see you later. Out of that stretch, he had 1 Pro Bowl, no All-Pros.
Which is ridiculous.
Totally ridiculous, right? Also in that time, he has 30 interceptions with the Packers. He did have 2, so he had 28 in that 8 season stretch to start his career. 28 compared to 10. Also, Jair's not getting 18 picks in the next 2 years, just a heads up. And Tremont only had 1 start that first season as well. So if you want to take that into consideration, he didn't get a lot of playing time that first season. And then again, the tackles, he actually has way more tackles than Jair ever had and all that good stuff. Okay, but again, just 1 Pro Bowl out of that stretch of seasons. 1 Pro Bowl for his whole career. Oh my God. What a career and what a ridiculous joke that that's the case. All right, then we have one more to show you, just again for a little more perspective on Jair Alexander being the greatest cornerback in the history of all time. Greatest one to be on the Packers. And again, we're looking at what they did as Packers, right? That's what we want to do here because that's what matters to us. Last one, we'll look at our good friend Chucky Woodson, one of the only guys to call out Aaron Rodgers, one of the first guys to call out Aaron Rodgers when he's being a total D-bag. Chucky Woodson in his 7 years in Green Bay. Okay, 7 years in Green Bay. He had 38 interceptions. Jesus Christ. 99 passes defended. Oh my God. 467 tackles. I'm not great at math. But that's pretty damn good for 7 years. And not only that, 29 tackles for a loss.
I want to see. Well, Jair has at least 1 tackle for a loss,
and he had 50. Oh my God, he had 15
forced fumbles. Yeah,
15 forced fumbles. Unbelievable, man. And 9 touchdowns off interceptions. 9 interceptions returned for touchdowns. Jesus.
Jair's only got 10 interceptions in 6 years.
Yeah. So Charles Woodson had 20 passes defended his first year of the Packers, 9, then 17, 18, 13, 17. Okay, before it went down. But that's a crazy stretch, better than Jair could put together or has put together, and that's fewer seasons. The forced fumbles, Jair never gets forced fumbles. That's just the way it is. Interceptions, 8, 4, 7, 9 in 2009. 2 in 2010, 2011, he had 7 picks. Like, just gain some perspective, guys. It's not even comparable. So for anybody that wants to sit here and tell you Jair Alexander's great and he's so great and he's amazing, I know he likes to tell you that. I know he thinks he's the best cornerback in the league. I know other people try to feed that to you, but the problem with that is they raise your expectations to think he actually is that, and he's not. He is not that. Will he benefit from Jeff Hafley's approach, the pass rush getting there? Absolutely. That helps out any cornerback. But does he have the mentality, the aggressiveness, the physicality, the instincts, the awareness, the ball skills to be a playmaker like either of those 2 great cornerbacks that the Packers actually had on their team in our lifetime? He's not even in the same stratosphere as those guys. So, just a little perspective for you. Don't put your expectations too high for Jair. Hopefully, the rest of the defense bails him and Eric Stokes out because that's how this defense can excel.
Well, I just got to tell you one thing.
Tell me one thing.
Andy Herman had his awards for training camp. And his award for best player in training camp this year, Jair Alexander. He said Jair Alexander is looking great. He's back to Jair form, which, as you've shown, is not that great.
Which is average. So great, I guess.
Average at best. But the problem is we have been conditioned to see. I don't know. It's what they. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I just want to be happy for the frickin' season to start, dude. Stop it. Stop it.
Aren't you most concerned if the Packers play a passing team?
I don't care.
If the Packers play a team that has a good pass game, we do not have the horses to keep up with those receivers. Those guys are not going to cut it. So I'm just saying, if the pass rush is good, we're okay. If the pass rush ain't good, we're in trouble. So let's just hope that the pass rush is really good because it will cover up the garbage that we have on the outside corners. And also let's hope the safeties have good instincts, can cover some ground, can tackle people, and can make plays. And I like the upgrades at inside backer. I like all of it. I like all of it except those two corners. And the problem is Brian Gutekunst probably looks at that goddamn depth chart and thinks those are his two best guys.
I know he does because
that's the problem to me.
It's fine. I'm not worried about it. If
I'm a little worried about it.
If the game proves everything that you've said, then I want you to come on and talk about this stuff. Okay? We have not seen Jair Alexander or Eric Stokes play.
I've seen enough
in Jeff Hafley's defense. We haven't seen Jeff Hafley's defense. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. And he was known, Richard Sherman, one of the greatest corners of all time, said Jeff Hafley is the guy who helped me get to where I wanted to get to. He's awesome. I trust Jeff Hafley. Whenever he tells me something, I'm going to do what he says because I trust him.
All right.
There's been guys who were awesome in college when they had Jeff Hafley as their coach, and they went to the NFL, and they weren't awesome anymore. And ask the Lions, Jeff Okudah. Mm-hmm. We know a guy who was awesome when he had his defensive backs coach at Ohio State was Jeff Hafley, and he dominated. And then he went to the Lions, and he stunk up the joint for years. So he can take a guy who he already had and taught him everything when he was good, and then he stunk. So hopefully he can do that to a guy who stinks and then make him good.
All right.
Well, if that's the case, we'll see what happens.
What's the one thing that Eric Stokes is pretty good at?
Nothing.
Well, the one
thing
run
that fast in a straight line.
Right. So if Jeff Hafley understands their strengths and coaches them to play to their strengths or sets them up to play to their strengths, then it will go better, right? Eric Stokes, I'm not expecting many interceptions from the guy. I'm not expecting a lot of stuff. But if he has Eric Stokes facing, not turning his back, he is pretty good at seeing and attacking what's in front of him. Okay? He's pretty good at that. It's the only thing he's pretty good at, but he's pretty good at that. So like for Stokes, I actually want to see him back. I want to see him back. I want to see him keeping stuff in front of him and then seeing it, because then he knows what's going on. If he turns his back, it's over. And for Jair, I don't know what to do with that guy, but
we'll see. And that's what excites me is we're going to see what's going to happen. We're going to see if Jeff Hafley can take guys and get the best out of them. And I think he can.
If he does it, he's the best damn coach the Packers have had.
And we're going to lose him after 1 year. He's going to be a head coach next year. If this defense turns out to be what we're all expecting it to be,
come on.
He should be gone after 1 year because it'd be a miracle compared to what we've been watching for the last.
Yeah, but they undervalue. I mean, he's not a young up and comer guy like those other guys that were hot, coordinator guys for head coaching jobs. So they undervalue, the NFL undervalues a guy like him who's a little bit older, who's been around a little bit longer. So I think even if the Packers defense is awesome, he'll be around for a few years. I really believe that.
Not if they win the Super Bowl.
Come on, man. Don't say it. Blas showed up. Good morning, he says. Blas, how are you? Have you been following the WNBA? There's a new league you should check out. Ben's talked about it in addition to Packers football.
Yeah, we're talking about Packers.
Check out WNBA.
Game week 1.
Caitlin Clark.
So let's talk Packers offense.
Who's most excited? Jordan Love. Everybody wants to see Jordan Love.
I don't really care. I want to see Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
I want to see Tucker Kraft in like a really cool role where he's just getting the ball in like.
Let me find you a little Tucker Kraft.
Like tight end screens. He's helping out block. I want to see Tucker Kraft at tight end and running back at times. Because that's what he did in high school. He was a running back. And he ran all over dudes. That's why he's so good with his hands after he catches it. That's why he's got such good yards after catch. And that's something I'm excited for. And Luke Musgrave, he could be your downfield guy, right? He runs downfield, and then he catches it, and then he falls down. That's fine. That's what he does. Tucker Kraft catches it, and he makes guys miss, and he runs over dudes. That's what I'm excited for on offense. I'm excited for all these receivers again. More of Dontavion Wicks. More of Jaden Reed. More of Romeo Dobbs. A little bit of Christian Watson. I don't know. I'm still not sold on him. His hands are pretty iffy. But that's all stuff that I'm ready for. And the Eagles, let's face it.
Hold on. I want to ask you a little more about that. Do you think so Tucker Kraft, is he going to see more? Is he going to be the guy that's on the field the most?
Yes.
You do think so? Okay.
I think, well, here's what I think it's going to be. It's going to be Tucker Kraft will be the most versatile piece on the offense. Period. End of story. He can do it all. And because he can do it all, he should be on the field as much as possible. Whether if it's a 2-back set with 3 wide receivers, I want to see him as the fullback. You know what I'm saying? If there's 2 tight ends, he's obviously one of them. If there's 3 receivers and a tight end, I want him to be the one that's out there, not Musgrave. Because Musgrave's not great at blocking, doesn't run great routes, trips over his feet all the time. He's fast, that's about all he is. And he doesn't judge the ball in the air very well. That's another thing he doesn't do. Like Musgrave is not, I hate to be a jerk, but he's not very good. He's the Eric Stokes of the offense, in my opinion.
Yay, come on now.
And I know a lot of people love Musgrave, but I'm telling you, he's not. He's fast, but that's about all he is. He's a nice guy, but
yeah, good guy.
Give me Tucker Kraft all day, every day. Tucker Kraft is the Rasul Douglas of the offense.
He's never going to be George Kittle or guys like that, but he can run fast and sometimes catch passes, and that's also helpful at times. Listen to Tucker Kraft. He said some good stuff at his locker the other day. This is one that, and he talked about it. He wants to be the man. He wants to do all the stuff. He wants to be a complete tight end. I don't know if he's been to tight end U yet or not, or been invited, the tight end off-season thing.
Yeah.
But he should be, because he's really awesome. But this is what he said. A couple things. We'll play a couple clips as I'll find them. But this is the first one.
In my body, especially in the run game, feeling really strong. Feel really in tune with the offense going into this game, into the season in general, but one play mindset, one play at a time. Like, I want to dominate. It's my one word, just dominate.
Is that the carrot that's been out there the whole time, this start of this season, then that the motivator for you?
Yeah. I just I think you just break things down, make them as simple as they are. This play I have extra responsibility, just adhering to your technique. And like I said, just trying to dominate the man across from you, whether it's releasing on a route or fitting a guy up in the run game.
So he sounds like a pretty serious dude right now. Like, he's dialed in, knows what he wants to do, is willing to do anything he's asked, right? And then he doesn't just want to do it. He wants to dominate. He wants to crush it. So I'm hoping, Tucker, man, that he gets the opportunity to just shine this year and show everything he can do. Because, and do you think, based on the expectations and what we saw initially, if Musgrave didn't go down with the injury last year, that we would have saw as much Tucker Kraft as we did?
No.
Right?
Because I don't believe Matt LaFleur knows what the hell he's doing half the time when it comes to the roster and what guys can do. And it bothers me. That's one of the things that happened last year that really bothered me. It was when he had these guys for the entire, well, not the entire offseason, but for a lot of it, at least a month and a half. And then he had them again a month and a half during training camp. And at the start of the season, for the first 3 weeks, he still didn't know what to do, what plays to call, what the guys could do. Even though us as fans watching them here and there in the preseason or watching their tape from college, we knew, Luke Musgrave, not great agility, pretty good speed, get him downfield, stop, he's not good at starting and stopping, so don't run any tight end screens for him. Yeah, what did Matt LaFleur call? A bunch of tight end screens for Luke Musgrave. And then how far did they get him? Nowhere. Same type of thing what he would always do with when you had Devontae Adams and you call a wide receiver screen for Devontae Adams. He's not great run after catch. He's great downfield. He's great route runner. He's great when the ball's in the air and get his hands out late and making a great catch because the DB doesn't know that the ball's even coming because he doesn't give away that the ball's coming. That's all great things Devontae did. But Matt LaFleur should know this stuff,
right?
He should know that A.J. Dillon needs a head start when he's on the team and now he's not anymore.
Yeah.
He should know A.J. Dillon should not be in shotgun next to the quarterback. He should be behind the quarterback, get ahead of steam, and let him plow in there. By watching Tucker Kraft, I knew he was going to be good with his hands or good with the ball after he caught it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy you give the tight end screen to.
He's just fluid and he can get going quick. I mean, it's the same thing all those years with Robert Tonyan.
Robert Tonyan, you should have never done. How many wide receiver or tight end screens did they give to Robert Tonyan that led to nothing? It was dumb.
But when you ran him downfield, when you ran him downfield, he was awesome, right? So hopefully, I want to see this Packers coaching staff. Like we said with Hafley, we hope that he, not only with his approach, which is going to be awesome from the sounds of it, but also that he figures out all the strengths and plays guys to their strengths. Matt LaFleur, that's something he needs to be better at, right? He needs to show that he understands his players better and that he figures out what they're best at and has them do what they're best at.
And that's the difference between him and Kyle Shanahan and McVay and all those type of guys, right? Even Kevin O'Connell. I can't wait to watch how Aaron Jones get used in the Vikings offense. Because I think Kevin O'Connell will use Aaron Jones to his strengths, which I don't know if Matt LaFleur always did. I think Aaron Jones is just so damn good, he always made Matt LaFleur look good. But I don't know if that's the case all the time. That's why, I'm not saying Matt LaFleur is great, like the amazing head coach. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. But he's not bad. I think he's a pretty decent leader. I think he's good with the guys. I think he's smart and he works hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he always recognizes how him and nobody on his staff, on the offensive staff, could figure out what these guys are good at.
Right.
My only hope is that Jeff Hafley is going, hey, you know what? Whenever you do tight end screens with Tucker Kraft, it's really tough for my defense to figure, to adjust to it and make plays. He's making guys miss. He's making good moves in there. And he tells them. Maybe he can tell him this stuff. Maybe he can tell. But they still called wide receiver screens with Christian Watson.
Yeah.
Why? Give him to Jaden Reed. Give him to Dontavian Wicks. Those are the two guys who should be getting the wide receiver screens. And the guys blocking for him should be Malik Heath and Dontavian Wicks. Those should be the two guys blocking.
Yeah, Christian
or Bo
Watson.
Or Christian Watson's a pretty good blocker too.
Yeah, he is good. He does. He blocks hard. I like it.
But Christian Watson should not be the guy getting the wide receiver screen.
No.
Because he cannot do anything with it after.
Right.
Christian Watson, he needs to build up. He's a build-up speed guy.
That was one thing Matt LaFleur was asked. That's one thing from his press conference too. Just a quick note. He was asked about Christian Watson and, going into the season with him. And does he make a difference for their offense? What was that like to have him now? Blah, blah, blah. And basically, he kind of said the same sort of Devontae stuff where he's like, yeah, we got to, just find he's a dynamic playmaker and we got to find ways to get him the ball, whether it's on a jet sweep like you guys saw a couple of years ago or, when we're throwing the ball to him or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, again, Christian Watson is fast, right?
The jet sweeps work because he builds up his speed there.
Yeah.
But what doesn't work is the comeback route. What doesn't work is wide receiver screen.
Yep.
That's what does work? The deep crosser, right? Yep. The double move deep, right? Those are things he can do at a very good pace, right?
Deep crossers, he's awesome for.
He's a master, yeah.
Because he can run, because he keeps getting faster, and the guys can't judge his speed as easily as when he's running straight at him. And all of a sudden, they're like, holy crap, he's like 5 yards away from me, and they're trying to catch up, and they can't. So, yeah, deep crossers with him all day long. He's awesome.
That's the thing is, like, if we know this stuff, how come LaFleur doesn't know this stuff?
I don't know.
And who's our quick twitch guys? Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed. Those guys are your 5-yard comeback route. Hit him. He'll make the first guy miss, and then he's gone because they got quick acceleration. Yeah. Well, at least Reed has quick acceleration. Wicks is more just agility. He's more like Donald Driver, where he makes a guy miss, and then he makes a guy miss. And guys just seem to miss him because he's just smart. He understands his body placement and how guys are attacking him and how they're coming at him and how he can just slightly move a little bit, and that guy's going to miss me, even though I'm not moving that fast. That's the guy. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, who does Dontavian Wicks remind me of the most? And I think it's Donald Driver.
Yeah,
he's a little big. He's a little bit bigger than Donald Driver, but Donald Driver wasn't fast. No way. Right. But he just always made guys miss all the time, right after the catch. Like he just knew what was going on.
And he was fast enough.
He's fast enough to make plays, and that's all you need. That's all you need. And so that's all I'm hoping for is, can they finally do? And the fact that they've scored so many points and been such a good offense all these years, and they still didn't even use the guys to their highest potential,
right,
is baffling to me. Like it blows my mind. And then you watch, there's other teams who can't even move the ball. Like they just suck so bad they can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. But these are things that, I mean, if I was a coach, I would be like, hey, man, use our guys to their best abilities. Call specific plays for specific guys.
I mean, you're right, too, in the fact that you have all these assistant coaches that should be speaking up about, about their group and who they see and who they're really dialed in on, to make sure that the offensive coordinator, the head coach, defensive coordinator, all that stuff, they understand what they think of these guys and what they've seen. And so it is weird for people to miss it. Again, unless literally what we see on game day sometimes is that whole thing where LaFleur is just calling plays and doesn't realize who's in the game. And so then he's like, oh, well, that's why Luke Musgrave got that tight end screen call, because he just happened to be in the game on that side. And that's why it happened. And that then is an area for growth for Matt LaFleur. Like you got to figure out, like, coaching is literally the biggest thing in coaching. If you talk to coaches at any level, like, yeah, you got to teach people how to do stuff and run your system and do, all that. And the fundamentals, you got to reinforce them, and you all got to have a plan and be on the same page. But literally the biggest piece of coaching is figuring out what your players do well and having them do those things as often as possible.
The other thing I think it's interesting is, I do believe in the past anyways, that he would allow the individual position coaches dictate playing time. Now, I'm sure they talked about it prior to the game, but in the game, it's the coach who decides who's playing and when they're playing and that sort of thing. Now, they also have preset offensive sets where certain guys are in there on a certain set. Like, that's why you'll see Malik Heath all of a sudden in there in the red zone, because he's part of the red zone offense, and he might be the only receiver on the field at that time because of his blocking ability in the running game and the fact that he's got a pretty big body and he's good at shielding guys off and he's got good hands. So you'll see Malik Heath in there if he's active on game day in the red zone offense when he's the single receiver. You'll see that sometimes. And that does happen. And I wonder how many times, if I was a position coach, like, I don't know what the order of play calling is. Like, does Matt LaFleur say what the play call is and then they swap out players? Or are the players just being swapped out? Matt LaFleur's going through his play calls and trying to figure it out, and then he just makes the play? Like, I don't know. Like, I would assume, I don't know. I think it's a lot of work. But I think it's something that if you're an NFL team, you should be able to do that. You should be able to understand what your strengths are for your players and get them out there to do the best that they can. And I think it's interesting that on defense, you're seeing McDuffie be the number 2 linebacker when they just drafted 2 guys and Goody brought in 2 guys, and Jeff Hafley's like, no, because McDuffie does all the things that I need him to do. because he's not an idiot. I don't care if he runs a 4.7 or whatever he runs. He's in the right spot because he knows what he's supposed to be doing out there. And that's a coach who's, and I don't know what the linebacker coach, I know a lot, it was very high on him. He came from Miami. They were really excited about him. And maybe he's smart enough to be like, hey, I'm playing the guys who know what's going on. I'm playing the guy that I can count on and is going to make put our defense in the right situation. And yeah, maybe Tyron Hopper's fast and whatever, and Cooper is freaking faster than lightning and smacks dudes. But when it's time to call a play and have to do the right thing, those are the guys I'm trusting. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see how they play, especially against the Eagles with a running quarterback, dynamic running game, great offensive line,
right.
3 good receivers, a really good receiving tight end who can also block. I mean, this is a freaking huge test for our defense.
You're going to find out a lot how good the front is, because we've seen it, right? We've seen Kenny Clark dominate in games. We've seen guys dominate. Rashawn Gary get 3 sacks in a game. We've seen stuff like that. We've seen some of that against certain teams or against certain quarterbacks or against certain offensive lines that aren't as good. And then when we see them play the really good teams and good players, then they were kind of neutralized, right? They were just okay. They weren't bad, but they weren't like making an impact. They weren't doing a heck of a lot. So you'll find out. We'll find out the strength. It'll be a good test, especially on the lines. This game is, a lot of it's going to be determined on the line play. But people always say that, but in this game, it really probably is true. The neutralizer, the thing that can sometimes overcome that, is making big plays. And the Packers do have a lot of big play potential. So offensively, if they can hit some big plays and, utilize their speed and some of their, many players they could target and get the good matchups, then, they could still win. There were games like that in the past. Remember, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, there was kind of a stretch where the Packers were pretty damn soft. Like, they've been softer. They're not that physical of an NFL team, but there was some years there where they were really soft. And remember, they would play like really physical teams.
Yeah, the Jets.
And the Jets,
49ers,
the Jaguars, the Panthers, I remember like 4 or 5 years ago. And of course the 49ers.
That was when
that was like those teams, like the Jags and Panthers, had drafted these young stud defensive linemen who were, and fast linebackers. And
Giants. That's why we lose to the Giants every time, because their defensive line
struggled. And they struggled against those teams, but they won because they made enough plays. But man, did they not win the battle up front. They got their butts kicked a lot. And then Aaron Rodgers pulled out a couple plays, or they got a couple of big plays, then they won, or Aaron Jones or whatever. So, that is kind of the thing. And that's why coaches are so focused on the big plays. But games most often are hopefully won when you're the more physical team. And this is the first time in a while that I really feel like the mentality is right for the defense. And we're going to find out if these players have it in them to play that style. And hopefully that's what we see as well on that side.
See, what I'm worried about, if you ask me what I'm most excited about, it's the Packers defense and see what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
The thing I'm most concerned about on the Packers,
and
it's not even the kicker they brought in.
What?
It's the running game, because this offensive line in the running game is not good. And not only that, it's not just the offensive line running game, but it's also the play calls of the running game. Like, it's one thing if you got Aaron Jones who can sift through a tiny little hole, who's got a really good vision. He's able to make guys look way better than they actually should be, because he can pull rabbit out of his hat. It should be a 2-yard loss. He turns into a 5-yard gain. Josh Jacobs doesn't have the agility that Aaron Jones has. Josh Jacobs doesn't have the quickness that Aaron Jones has. He's got a little more beef. He's tougher, possibly, but Aaron Jones is a pretty tough guy.
He is.
But every time they talk about Josh Jacobs, they show the same play where they played against the Chiefs last year, and he ran over a dude and shoved him, and he ran for like 40 yards, and that's his only big play of the year. And then they're like, 2 years ago, Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing, but last year his offensive line really sucked, and that's why he sucked. Well, let me tell you a little secret, everybody. The Packers' offensive line in the running game kind of sucks. So I'm worried that Josh Jacobs, who is a good running back, is not going to see the holes that he needs to get the yards that he, once did 2 years ago. I think we might get Josh Jacobs from last year because the offensive line in front of him is not good enough run blocking unit for him to use his gifts. And that's concerning. We paid $12 million to a guy per year who might not even fit the offensive line when we had the right guy to begin with.
That's fair.
And that concerns me because the other thing is Marshawn Lloyd. Is he playing? I don't know. Probably not. He's still hurt. When he does play, he doesn't read any holes. He doesn't have the vision of Aaron Jones. He's faster, but he always wants to run to the outside and then try to get around the corner every time.
He also, for some reason, doesn't really switch the ball.
He never switches the ball,
which I don't know.
Well,
I know Amon Green had a career without doing it, but it cost him some fumbles for sure.
He fumbled a lot. And then Wilson, I think, is our best running back.
He's pretty good
for this particular system because he will. Now he's not breaking anything.
Right.
Yeah, he broke that one in preseason last year. That's because he was going to get up against third stringers, everybody. But when it comes to stud, like playing against good defenses, I think he's got good vision. He'll find the hole for the most part, and he'll get you 3 or 4 yards when he needs to get you 3 or 4 yards. He's good at spinning off guys and falling forward for 2 yards, where like A.J. Dillon will get hit and then just fall right there, right?
Yeah.
And Josh Jacobs, I think, could do similar things, so that's good. But if you're expecting this running game to look anything like it has with Aaron Jones in the game, it's probably going to be more similar to what we saw last year in the middle of the year when they couldn't do jack squat. And they look pretty sad. They're getting 40 yards a game for a while there because Aaron Jones was hurt.
Josh Jacobs has probably better balance than Dillon.
Yeah, way better.
But I don't know that he's going to be that much more productive.
Well, if there's no hole there, it doesn't matter what balance you have if there's no hole there. Here's nowhere to go. Or if your guy in front of you gets his ass beat so bad that there's a guy in the backfield, as soon as you touch the ball, you're going to make that guy miss, but you're going to make him miss and turn around. And then guess what? The other guy in the offensive line sucks balls too, and there's another guy in your face tackling you.
But those blocking schemes are another example of not having players play to their strengths again.
Yeah.
Like we've seen it. The Packers last year was one of the few times that they switched up blocking schemes quite often, right? They did a lot of different. They did some pulls. They had like tackles pulling sometimes from the opposite side. They had guards. They had centers pulling. They had, and then they also did a lot of double team blocks at times, and then scrapes, double team scrapes, but that's not the root of this offensive approach, and not the root of the scheme for the offensive line. It's the flow and the zone blocking and all that. But these guys, and especially you look at a guy like Rasheed Walker, for example, right? And Myers, who can't stand guys very well. If you happen to have like a quick double team where they engage, and then you take one of your guys who doesn't sustain blocks well, and he's the one that peels off to just go and shadow or get in front or get a chip on somebody at the next level, that's a good use of that player because that's the way he blocks. That's the way he plays. He doesn't sustain blocks. He's not a attach yourself to the guy and stick with him. So understanding that about your offensive lineman and who can do that and who sustains blocks better is also part of coaching and also a part of where you could make the blocking fit the players better as opposed to trying to make these players master this blocking system, which clearly they're not that good at.
Well, it's interesting you say that because usually what they do is they have like Elton Jenkins peel off, and they leave Rasheed Walker there to block.
Doesn't make any sense.
Which you can't do, right?
Right.
The other thing that's interesting, and I think is a bad plan, is when they do, and I understand the thought process, is the run-pass option or whatever they call it. I can't remember how they call it, which worked great with Aaron Rodgers because he had such a quick release.
Right.
Jordan Love's release isn't even half as quick as Aaron Rodgers' release. I'm sorry, everybody. It's just not. And he's got way too much arm to look for a lot of where Aaron Rodgers is like, I mean, it was like gone. Like he would do the fake handoff and it's over there. Jordan Love, it takes a long time for it to get going. And when he does that, in combination with the fact that our offensive line is doing this, flow blocking scheme where they're not really getting upfield on running plays, and he ends up turning into a running play and he decides to hand off the ball instead of throw the pass, and we're all just moving sideways. And we're just giving gaps to a defense who wants to penetrate because we're already moving over. Like I showed you the film a couple weeks ago, the first preseason game where the guy, Kadeem Telford, is like, all right, I got to move over to the right and get in front of the defensive end to block him because we're moving over that way. And he moves there, and the defensive end just jukes right to the inside of him, and he didn't even touch him. And the next thing you know, A.J. Dillon screamed in the backfield, right? Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that can't happen. And as a coach, I'd be like, oh, all right, so Jordan Love doesn't have the release Aaron Rodgers has. That makes that play not as good. My offensive line is not great on sustaining blocks or moving and getting on the block right away. Plus, it puts them at a disadvantage because instead of moving forward and attacking on a possible run play, they're moving sideways. So that hurts the offensive line and it hurts the running back because you're not moving the line of scrimmage for him either. Mm-hmm. All three of those things lead to not calling those plays. Yes, it's a surprise at times. Maybe you can get your receiver, with a corner way off him, and then he can make the guy miss and go for 20 yards. I have never seen a Packer receiver do that other than Dontavion Wicks. Or maybe Devontae Adams once against the Bears where he made the guy miss and he scored a touchdown on a play like that one time. But
yeah, most
of
the time
very seldom
gets you like 2 to 5 yards.
2 to 5 yards at the most. And if you would just call a regular run and move the line of scrimmage 2 yards, your running back can get those 2 to 5 yards easy.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right about it. It works. It can work against a defensive line that is a read and react defensive line.
Right.
But against a penetrating defensive line, forget it. Like you said, there's just way too many weak spots, way too many gaps to attack. If they want to dive through there, they're going to get through there and blow up the whole play. So, yeah, I don't like it at all.
And that's part of scouting and knowing what the opponent you're going up against is, too.
Yeah, 100%.
And with now the Eagles, they play that wide 9, and they also, guess what? Their defensive coordinator is? They just hired Vic Fangio this year as their defensive coordinator. So you're talking a guy who's been around a long time, and he's perfected his defense. And he knows how to coach it, and he knows how to make it do good things. And whatever happened with the Dolphins, it didn't work out last year. Him and Mike McDaniel didn't work out together, but that's probably because Mike McDaniel is a weirdo and Vic Fangio is not a weirdo. He's just a straight-laced football tough guy. So those two guys did not mesh at all. And I remember when that hiring happened, I was like, that's not going to work. And it didn't. But what they run. The defensive ends are going to be way far out. And they put a lot of, pressure on the D tackles to soak up blocks. So in that case, you should attack that gap between the tackle and the defensive end. Mm-hmm. And what you have to do is shield off the tackle. Let that defensive end, he wants to be out there that wide and pass rush, let him pass rush. Make sure he gets to the outside. Do not let him get to your inside. Keep him out there. Run right through that gap. Yeah, maybe there's a linebacker there or whatever. And that's where you want to have Tucker Kraft come in motion and give us a lead fullback type block right up in there. Or pull your guard who's got a big D tackle in front of him. Pull him. Let him lead. Let your center and your right guard take on that other D tackle, double team him, make sure he can't do anything. Make sure your right tackle lets that defensive end, let him rush, let him pass rush, keep him out to the outside. Your guard, your left guard, El Jacobs comes in motion. He's your lead right through the hole. You're running back right behind him. Awesome. That's the type of plays I would call. Matt LaFleur never run. He doesn't run those plays.
Those as a lineman too. Those blocking schemes are so much more fun. They just are. Like it's a hell of a lot more fun to like take off because you kind of a lot of times most defensive line guys are coached and expecting to engage with somebody right away, right? And if you just let them go, then most of them pause for a second. Most of them don't just like keep running hard because they know something's going on. So most of them pause for a second, and then you're kind of setting them up too because they stop their momentum. And then you got a guy coming to either pull and kick them out, or you got a guy, or you just let them fly upfield and you give them a push and they fly upfield. But when you're looping around as an offensive lineman, either for a kickout block or for a block up the hole, it's just fun, man. It's a fun way to play O-line. And those guys need to be able to have some fun too, because they got to feel good about themselves and what they're doing as well. And if they're doing this flow stuff and the zone and they're not very good at it and guys are penetrating and beating them, they're going to get, that's going to affect their play and their confidence and all that stuff. So I loved watching the games where the Packers, and it seemed like certain games they switched up and had a lot more different blocking schemes going, and I loved watching that last year. That was awesome.
Well, let's hope they can do that all year this year. And
yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I'm excited to see if they figured out what these guys can do. Use those receivers at the best of their abilities and what they're best at each specific spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, man, Jeff Hafley and that defense is going to be awesome. So, hey, we're 2 days away. I'm excited. It's 10:30. I'm ready to get out of here, but I'm saying try not to be so negative about Jair. I know he stinks, but people don't want to hear that right now. This is the start of the year. We want to be more positive and say, hey, we know these are the issues, but can Jeff Hafley get through to Jair and bring the best out of him? That's what you say. You say, I know Jair sucks, but can Jeff Hafley bring the best out of him? I know Matt LaFleur usually calls dumb plays, but can he possibly call the right play? I don't know.
For the right player, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Look, it wasn't so much about necessarily about Jair. It's just that they talked up Jair this whole offseason. It was all this Jair pump up.
But they had to, because he was such a freaking head case ding dong last year that they have to talk him up, or the fans will turn on him with 1 second of him playing like crap.
I know, and the amount of money he makes, and then also the amount of All-Pro and Pro Bowls he's gotten recognized for. I'm just like, these are two other guys I watched in my lifetime as a Packer fan, and they were way better than this dude. But I know Woodson got talked about it, but Tremont never got talked about it like that. And he's Jair Alexander can't even be in the same category. So I just wanted to, because there's a lot of people that defend him, and there's a lot of people that are like, he's so great. Oh my God, Jair, he's gonna dominate. He's the best corner in the league. I'm like, man, reality is what I showed you, and that's the only reason I wanted to do it. I'm done talking about him. I hope he I hope he has a good season, but I will also tell you, for anyone that wants to come at me and be like, you said Jair sucks, he literally needs to have 3 great seasons in a row to make up for his lack of performance to this point in his career for me to give him the kudos that he wants. So let's see him do it this year and for the next 2 years. Then I'll get on the Jair train with you. What do you want to say?
I was just saying, I listened to Locked On Eagles the other day, and they talked about the Packers and the Packers that they feared the most.
Yeah.
These were the Packers they feared the most. He said Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander on defense were the 2 guys they feared. Like, we better look out for those 2 guys. And I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm like, wow, these guys they're definitely Locked On Eagles because they don't know jack squat about the Pack. And then on offense, they feared Jordan Love,
fear him.
Christian Watson, because he had that one game against the Eagles where he went nuts, and Jordan Love first showed up, right? So that's why they're afraid of him.
Yeah.
And they said Josh Jacobs. Those are the 3 guys they feared on the Packers offense.
Wow.
They obviously don't know anything, and that's fine. That's good. But they're not the coaches of the Eagles. We can't assume that the Eagles coaching staff is as dumb as their fans are. Right?
Can we please? I want them to be as dumb because I want them to.
I know. I want that too.
Wicks.
I do too. And I want to think Kenny Clark's really good and double team him every play so that all the other guys only get single covered on blocks and they can beat their blocks and really mess shit up. I really, really want the Eagles to be dumb like that because we know Kenny, whether he's got 1 guy blocking him or 2, he's not moving.
Yeah.
Now, that's a good thing sometimes.
Yep. Sometimes holding your ground.
It's really good if 2 guys stand there and block you and you hold your ground. That's actually really good. Kenny Clark can be great for that. And if they want to waste 2 guys blocking him for that, awesome. Because that gives TJ Slayton and freaking Devontae Wyatt and Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith and LVN and all those guys one-on-one blocking that they can beat. And that's cool, right?
Yeah.
So, and if they're afraid of Jair and they start throwing at Keyshawn or trying to take a shot at our rookie safeties, please do. Try to throw at Evan Williams a couple times. He'll pick you off. Try to throw it to Bullard. He'll knock the freaking receiver's head off. Try it. And I'm excited for that too. So,
yeah. And to have a linebacker out there that's aware to go along with Quay Walker.
Yeah. It's going to be – I'm excited about the defense.
And like you said, that does say a lot that you drafted these 2 rookies highly and you got McDuffie starting, right?
Yeah.
And he's last year of his contract too, right? It's not even yeah. So I mean, he could play awesome and still be let go, but
I wonder if
he plays awesome.
if the defensive coordinator wasn't his former head coach in college for 1 year,
right?
If he would still get that same chance. Because Hafley did bring it up in the press conference the other day too. They asked him about McDuffie and Wilson and why those guys are playing more than the rookies, and he's like, "Hey, I've known McDuffie since he was a freshman in college, and he was a senior, and it was my first year. I was a first year head coach, and I know what he can do. I trust him. I know exactly what I get out of him." And then he said, and Eric Wilson's a savvy vet who knows what's going on, and he works his butt off, and he's only improved every day that he's been here with my defense. So I trust him too. And that's all he had to say.
Yeah.
And those are two decisions made by a coach who knows what the hell's going on. So I trust Hafley more than LaFleur at this point. I kind of want Hafley as the head coach. I mean, don't tell anybody, even though I just did say it, but we'll see what happens. I just like this group.
Yeah.
I like these coaches on defense, the new guys they brought in. It's cool. And I do like the fact that we talked about it at the time, but I do like the fact that when they hired Hafley, they didn't force him to coach with all the guys that were there from the previous guy, like they did to Joe Barry. Right. Now, Joe Barry was an idiot, didn't deserve anybody else. He probably had nobody else that wanted to come with him, so I totally get that. Where Jeff Hafley actually has good coaches that wanted to come with him, but I digress. So that's the end of that. I'm excited. Friday night. Woo!
All right, you know what everybody loves. Before we go, final score prediction. Everybody loves it.
We gotta do the season prediction yet.
Season? Nah, we'll get that. Let's see.
No, we gotta do it now. Last year I said they were going to be 9-8, squeak into the playoffs at the 7th seed, and win a playoff game. I was correct.
Yeah. What did I say?
You were wrong. That's all I know.
Okay, get it out.
This year?
You want me to go first? No, you were right. You go first.
This is what the Packers are going to do this year.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. Let's hear it.
I trust Jeff Hafley. I trust him. I trust Matt LaFleur will figure it out eventually. I think the Pack is going to be second in the division, which is a good thing because they won't be playing at home because they always suck it when they play at home.
Yep, agreed.
Even though they want to tell you, we want to have those home playoff games so everybody can freeze their nuts off. No, nobody wants that. The players don't. The fans don't. Nobody wants that shit. We want to go on the road. That's how we won the last time.
Has no clue.
They're going to end up being the best team that's not a division winner. So they're going to play the crappiest division winner and kick the shit out of them.
Nice.
Okay, so they're going to beat whoever it is. It's probably going to be like the team from the NFC South, but it might be also the team from the NFC East.
Could be the Cowboys.
No. It's going to be, it might be, it could be. But whoever it is, they're going to beat them. They're going to beat them. And then it's going to be, after they beat them, then they got to have to play the 1 seed, who's going to be the Lions.
Ooh.
And they're going to beat the Lions. And then in the NFC Championship game, Matt LaFleur is going to finally do it.
Wow.
He's going to finally do the thing that he could never do. And that's beat Kyle Shanahan for once and for all at the NFC Championship game, and they're going to get to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl. I actually don't think they can win the Super Bowl.
Come on.
But I think they can do it as long as it lines up that way.
Yeah.
If it lines up differently, where the 49ers are the 1 seed and the Lions are the 2 seed, I think they'll lose to the 49ers.
That damn rain last year, too. It sucked. Yeah. It slowed down all their speedy guys and stuff in that game.
But I think they need that momentum. They need to beat the crappy team that's the 4 seed. Then they need to beat the Lions, who they can beat at any time. Because they need to not be worried about it. And then when they get to that NFC Championship game in San Francisco, that's the time that they take it to them. Because Deebo Samuel's going to be hurt by then. My guy Christian McCaffrey's going to be hurt by then. George Kittle's going to be on one leg. You know what I mean? Brock Purdy's going to have one of his arms tied behind his back. We're going to cream the crap out of him. That's the other thing is because the 49ers are top heavy. A couple guys get hurt. They don't look as good, but they still might have a high spot in the playoffs because they've won so many games in the regular season. But when it gets to the playoffs, they might be all hurt and want to be whiny. And Deebo Samuel ain't going to play because he always gets hurt and whiny, just like he did last year.
He sits out a lot for every little thing.
So that's what I'm saying. Pack to the Super Bowl. They're going to be the number 5 seed.
You're willing to take
go
them
on
that?
the road, smackety smack. The Pack gets to the Super Bowl.
You're willing to take them that far, but not say they're going to win it. Wow.
I don't know yet. Because I'm afraid of a lot of teams in the AFC. I'm afraid of the Chiefs. I'm afraid of the Bengals.
I'm not afraid.
I'm afraid of the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I'm afraid of a lot of things.
I'm not afraid.
I'll say this much. I really want it to be the Jets. And then I want the Packers to win for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But I'd love to see the Jets against the Packers, and the Packers beat the shit out of them. And Aaron Rodgers gives up at halftime and starts worried about his stats. But,
yeah.
All right, so what do you say? What's the Packers' record going to be? I don't know what their record. The record will be.
Give a record.
The record is going to be 10-7.
10-7. That's not good enough.
Okay, they'll be 11-6 and be the 5 seed.
But
they'll have a better record than the 4 seed and the 3 seed. They'll be 11-6. They'll have a better record than the 4 seed and the 6 seed, or 4 seed and the 3 seed. But it won't be enough to get ahead of the Lions, and that's why the Lions will be the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed.
I don't recall the schedule off the top of my head, but I want to throw it out there. I was thinking 11 wins too, before you said anything, so I probably should stick with that. But if I have to be different, then I'll say they win 12. But I think they're actually going to win the division, which scares me a little bit.
They might, because the Lions, I don't know. I'm a little worried about them.
Lions are going to fall down a little bit. They just are.
The Bears, I think, will steal a couple games. I think they'll steal a couple games against the Lions in the Pack that we're not expecting. Usually we get 2 wins, and it might not happen.
And then I think they can get through one home game against an inferior team. But
I don't know.
Because I'm not worried about the Niners being a wild card this time. I'm not worried about like a physical, tough team being a wild card. So I think if like somebody like Dallas had to come up to Green Bay in the January, that wouldn't be a problem. Dallas is a bunch of wimps anyway and chokers, and Dak can't throw on the cold and all that. So I think that's might be how it goes. I'm gonna say the Packers win the division. They end up with a home playoff game. They beat the Cowboys right away. Then they have to play.
Then Mike McCarthy gets fired.
Yeah, then he gets fired. Maybe Niners and maybe the Eagles have a really good year, and they end up being the Packers are the 3 seed. So then they have to play like Eagles and Niners. Actually, I'm going to say they play the Niners, then they play the Eagles, and have to beat the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl. And I think they can, and I think they can win the Super Bowl this year. I really do.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah, you don't know. Okay, so what is going to happen Friday night?
Eagles, Packers on top.
In Brazil.
Packers, Eagles. I think the Eagles are a team that's going to have to figure stuff out. I think they're going to be a strong team, but they're not going to be as good. Like you said, they're not going to be as prepared as the Packers are for this game because they haven't been together. So I think the Packers win 30-23.
I don't know what the score is, but I think the Packers will win too. I think Jeff Hafley will.
I just told you what the score was.
Yeah, whatever. I think Jeff Hafley will take care of the Eagles offense and hold them down. I don't think the Eagles offense is going to score more than 18 points. I think it'll be under 18.
They probably get some
18 or less.
You gotta always figure the garbage one like late. That's why I ran it up to 23.
Yeah, but I think the Packers. I think it's going to be Packers 22 or Packers 24, Eagles 18.
Okay. Well,
which is a really weird score, but I think that's going to be 24-18.
I say 30-23. I say the Packers win, and I'm not worried about the Bears winning too many games this year like everybody else. I really don't think they're going to be good again because they're still the Bears, and they also got a lot of new stuff to gel together, and that's going to take time too. So I ain't worried about it. Okay, good enough for a show.
Time to go.
Get you guys next week sometime. Peace out.
Can't wait to watch the film.
Hopefully David comes back. Oh, dude says Dad's here yet, and he says Packers over Eagles by 10. Woo! All right, I like it, Dad. I like it. Blas had no clue, so there you go. All right. Be good, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Keep it real. And we'll catch you guys next time on the Pooh Show. Tell me why,